Thank you so much for coming back. I am Jen Potter and I am the host of Networking Now. I am joined with Heather Estramera. We have gone through so many different things when talking about networking. She is a real estate attorney and she's been doing it for a long time and absolutely loves what she does. And through networking, she has been able to build a foundation for her business. And so I know right before the break, we were talking about the importance of collaboration over competition. And I know for some of the groups that you are part of, that's not always an option. But when we talk about collaboration and we talk about growing, when we're in a networking group, so many networking groups concentrate on what they call spheres. So when we think of the people that we want to network with, we have these people who are like, if I have a good relationship with a real estate agent, if I have a good working relationship with a title agent, I don't know if that's the title, sorry, but you know what I mean. So you have all these different people that could be power players in helping you grow. Uh, is that typically how you're able to get most of your connections? What does that look like? Are spheres important in your business? I know you said you can network with anybody, but are those important?
Absolutely. Yes, they've been tremendously important to my business. So yeah, pretty much most of the networking groups that I've been involved in, um, for in order to be successful, there has to be a strong real estate agent, a lender, residential lender, and then an insurance agent, and then also a photographer, like a real estate photographer. So
Huh.
those have been really great people for me to network. Obviously, the real estate agent and the lender are pretty much my most important spheres, and I form like usually the strongest connections and relationships with those people, and we pass business back and forth frequently. But I've also the insurance agents. I'm able to refer to them, and they're able to refer to me, as well as the real estate photographers are able to connect me with other real estate agents that I can get in touch with.
And it's so amazing that you said that because if you were to tell me to list out all of the people that I think would be great for your sphere, the last person I probably would have said was a real estate photographer. Not to discount a real estate photographer, but I wouldn't even have thought that that would be someone that I would refer to you. So, again, third segment, learn something new. Thank you very much for that. I was looking for something I didn't know. So that's actually really fascinating. I find it interesting because real estate photography, especially now, I feel has been so instrumental with real estate selling. Because I know if I want to look at a house down in Florida, just as long as they have a really awesome like pictures and 3D models, I find for me, I'm like, this is great. I can view a house without even having to go there. But I never even thought that that would be someone who I could refer to you and would actually be instrumental. So thank you. That's actually really, really awesome. And so the spheres are important, right? And having those key players will help you to grow those relationships. And speaking of relationships, when it comes to networking, um, we talked about this a little bit before. Buying a house is pretty intimate, right? I know some people look at it as it is transactional, obviously, and for some people, when it's just business, it's transactional. But for the average person who is buying a house, a residential house, I personally would think that it's a commitment and it's something that, a relationship that you truly want to foster. Do you find that, you have to create these really intimate connections with not just the people that you're selling, that you're selling the house to, but also to the real estate agent and stuff like that? Like what do those relationships look like and how important are they?
Absolutely, yeah, they're very important. I'll start off with the real estate agents and the lenders. It's very important for me to have a strong connection and a really good relationship and really open communication. They need to know that they can rely on me, that I'm going to be available if they're going to send me a client. So I need to be able to be reliable and be available to them. So it's really important that when all my real estate agents or lenders they call, I always try to pick up the phone, always return text messages and emails, and always trying to really keep in contact, keep that communication open, because it's really important. And then as well for clients, that is their number one thing that clients usually look for in his attorney is somebody gets back to them. That's the number one complaint that people have with attorneys is that they don't return phone calls or emails. So it's very important that you make the client feel valued, make them feel heard, and really ease their anxiety through the home buying process. And so one of the most important ways to do that is just really build that communication and build that connection.
I love the connection piece of it, and the serial business owner, the serial entrepreneur such as myself, when you said something, I cringed, and not because it was what you're doing, but something that I'm really against, right? So I won't be this client for you. So I don't believe in instant gratification, but I would think that one of the hardest parts of your job is you have to give instant gratification. And so, because you're saying they're not answering the calls, they're not returning it. So, for me personally, like I set some hard boundaries. I'm like, after 5 o'clock, like I am not available. And I have people working 7 days a week that are working all different types. And sometimes I make myself available because I have to, but I make it very clear that unless it's an emergency, like we're not going to have a phone call. But I understand that there's an urgency when you're buying a house, right? When you're putting in an offer and things like that. And how does that affect you in your personal life, right? Like if you have children or anything like that, like I know you have a little one, and it must does that add like an extra layer of stress to your life, or are you able to put some limits on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've definitely struggled with that. I think a lot of people do struggle with boundaries. So yeah, I try to I'll take phone calls after hours. Obviously, if it's something I can handle the next day, I'll try to send a text message or an email saying like, yeah, I definitely received your message, and I will get back to you the next day. But if it's something that is urgent, I will try to take the call during the week. I'm very, I don't want to say strict, but I try to be strict on the weekends because I really, really need that decompression time and that self care time to really rejuvenate myself so that I'm ready to give my best all week. So those are that's those boundaries I've set.
No, I think that that's important. I think that's important for other people to hear too, because I'm sure it's just not in your industry. I mean, I think it's industries across the board. I think that sometimes we forget to set those boundaries because we want to keep those relationships working. Because, like you said, one of the biggest complaints is that somebody's not getting back to them. And by not getting back to them, you might be losing a client. And so, like, I feel like if you're losing that client, then you're like, why did I work so hard to do this in the first place? And so it's like this circle that we've created. But I think, establishing those boundaries like right out the gate, like I like what you said, like if someone sends you a message after hours and you can't respond, I will respond to you tomorrow morning. Like I do stuff like that sometimes too, and just so people understand like this is how this works. And but for the most part, most of the stuff that I do, it doesn't need instant gratification, but there are things that do, and there are time limits when things close and when you have to get all of the different things. So I definitely understand, because sometimes you're at the mercy of something else, and I know that that can be really, really hard. So I love the fact that you're setting boundaries. You're telling other people who are networking and doing all of the things that it's okay to set those boundaries. And for us who are networking, sometimes we're not networking during the day. We're actually out and we're talking at night, and we're doing things in after hours as well. So we definitely work a lot, period, right? And so it is important to take that decompression time, because it's the most important part for us to give our all throughout the week, myself included, right? I don't know how I do half the things I do. And so, when we're setting boundaries, it really made me think of one of the other things that we really wanted to start to talk about is when we're establishing connections and we're creating these relationships. And we talked about how important it is, because we're talking to these people all the time, we're doing something that's very intimate. How important do you think it is to have an authentic connection? I mean, I'm sure that there's been plenty of deals that you had that are cold, but for the most part, how frequent is that authentic connection for you, and how important is that for the longevity of the relationship or reoccurring clients? I don't know if that happens a lot in your industry.
Yeah, I think it's very important, and I think that's really the key to success for establishing long-term relationships with referral partners and clients is being authentic. I think if you don't have an authentic connection, then basically it's really just kind of a cold business transaction, and then you're really no different than the next person, right? But when you really build that personal connection and you nurture those relationships, then it's just a better working relationship, and then you will see repeated business. I've been very lucky. Pretty much most of my, the people I've networked with have become friends, and I've known them now for years and know them like intimately, and we can text each other and call each other, and sometimes even get grab dinner or drinks. So it's really important to establish an authentic connection, and really that's what makes a long-term relationship successful.
Oh, absolutely. And beyond that authentic connection, it's showing up authentically as yourself, right? And
Yes.
which goes back to when we talked about, everybody's different. And, we are working with you because it's you and because the way that you do your job. So establishing the connection, but beyond that, being the person that you are. And I think, that's how we became friends, right? Like we knew each other on the internet for, I don't know, a year, probably a year before we met in person, right?
Yep.
Which is it's such an amazing thing. And but because of how you showed up and who you were, I felt like when I met you, I knew you. It was like we saw each other in real life, but our relationship existed because of how you showed up. And technology is so amazing, right? Like I feel like I see you through the phone, or I even think about it when I think about like our producers and stuff. Like I talk to them so much, I think like it's like, hey, I know them, but like we've never met in person. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Technology is so amazing when it comes to networking. Like we established a trusting relationship and we never even were in the same room, right?
Right.
So I find that to be super interesting. And when I think about it, it's why we do what we do. It's why networking is so important, and why it kind of boils down to all of that. And I just think it's amazing. And I learned so much like talking to you today. I love the fact that we talked about how networking has been so imperative to your business, and, all of the different people, understanding the different legs of how you interact with different people and the spheres and stuff like that. And I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to add to what we talked about, but I would love you to do that if you'd like. But also, if you want to go in a little bit more detail, again, tell everybody, how to get a hold of you, the company that you work for, and stuff like that. All of your social media handles.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So yeah, again, I'm Heather Estramera of the Barletta team at Liguris and Associates. We're a team of three. And just some of the stuff that I've been talking about really is how we do business. We're very approachable. We're very, kind, friendly. We love to build those connections. And we really offer a different experience that a lot of clients, a lot of real estate agents and lenders really appreciate. So if you would like to get in touch with me, you can add me on Instagram, which I'm Heather_Estramera_ESQ on Instagram, or it's hestramera@Liguris.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. You can just search my name, Heather Estramera Esquire. And I believe on Facebook, I'm just Heather Estramera, but I'd love to connect with anybody who's interested in buying or selling a home, or just wants to learn more about Liguris and what we do, and Barletta Team.
I love that. And I love your social media stuff too, right? It's just like my own personal stuff. And I love that you show up here the same way that you show up online, the same way that you show up in person. And I can speak for you, personally when I say that you are exactly who you say you are. You show up the way that you're going to show up, and you've been trusted time and time again. I talk to a lot of people who have worked with you directly, and so I can definitely speak for that. So if you are looking for a real estate attorney in Massachusetts, I know you can also do some other Rhode Island and New Hampshire as well. So if you're interested in that, and if you're looking for someone, she's definitely someone that you should reach out to. So again, my name is Jen Potter. I am the host of Networking Now. Thank you so much, Heather Estramera, for joining us today, and we look forward to the next episode. Have a great day.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.